I'm David Hoffman, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker. I love documentaries. Do you love documentaries? About 10% of the theatrical audience, people who go to the theater and buy tickets, want to buy tickets to see a documentary. They see a documentary as drama, as story, as exciting, and as realistic. I don't know about factual. That's going too far for documentaries as far as I'm concerned. And I've made hundreds of documentaries for 58 years. So this guy, Chris Parkhurst, calls me up and says, David, I'd like to interview you for my podcast, which is the #1 podcast for documentaries. People who make them, professionals, amateurs, people who like them, people fascinated by the documentary as a theatrical form. And mostly I say no to interviews, but I said yes to him.
David Hoffman has been making documentaries for all types of audiences and for every available venue for more than 58 years. Hoffman has made 175 primetime PBS specials and series, 6 documentary-style feature programs, hundreds of network television commercials, dozens of corporate-sponsored documentary-style programs, and educational programs for children of all ages. He has won multiple Emmys, a Peabody Award, the Cannes Film Festival Critics Prize, top prize blue ribbons at festivals in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, and numerous international festivals. Nowadays, Hoffman spends his time creating videos for his YouTube channel, where he has 352,000 subscribers that tune in regularly to learn about Hoffman's life, his work, and words of wisdom for aspiring filmmakers. First and foremost, what a pleasure, David Hoffman. Welcome to the Documentary Life. Very excited to have you onto the program today.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. From your early days, it seems like you saw yourself as someone who could make successful doc films your own way, your own style. I would say outside of conventional or accepted methods and wisdom. You even did this with your decision to move from being a small fish in a big pond in New York to becoming a much bigger fish in a smaller pond in Camden, Maine. Talk a little bit about that and that decision to move to Maine, and then talk a little bit about this idea of really your own style and doing things your own way as a doc filmmaker.
You know, I'm saying this to you, and I know that everybody who's listening to this can't do what I did. But if you do, if you take the risk of just your own sensibilities, not the system, not the current style, certainly not journalism. Yuck, journalism. If you want to be a journalist, you're not a documentary filmmaker, in my view. If you're a documentary filmmaker, you're documenting your perception of something, not reality. That always fascinated me. There's no such thing as real. There's what I see as real, what I see. So I wanted to go my own way. At that particular time, 1974, Nixon had been elected and he was about to go. The 60s had died and the cities were a mess. Big drugs had taken over. There was a lot of violence. And there was this thing, which your audience probably has heard about, most of them haven't lived it, called back to the land. We went back to the land. We left the city. I'd always lived in the city. And there was this place, Camden, Maine, where I had some relatives. And I moved my whole company at that time, 10 of us, into little houses in the little town. And we got a plane that we could share in to get us out of there. There was no internet, of course. And we began to make movies. And I thought I was going to die. I mean, come on, who's going to hire a guy from Camden, Maine to work in New York or LA or DC? Yeah. And I got work. And how I got work was by presenting a very unique style. And it required one thing, and it's the thing I still most believe in: credible. Is it credible? Are you bullshitting? Yeah. Are you selling? Yeah. Are you a true believer? So many documentaries being made today are true believers. I know this is the truth. What I'm showing you is the truth. When we all know who make these films, you know, Chris, because you interview so many people so well, there's no such thing as truth. There's my truth and your truth and his truth. And I did it.
Or Werner Herzog's The Ecstasy of Truth.
Boy, is that good. The Ecstasy of Truth. Yeah. I admire Michael Moore enormously because he's so talented. He's so funny. He's so charming. And I won an award in his festival in Michigan. Yeah. And I met him. And what he says to me is, you're a pretty good filmmaker. And I said, Michael, are you telling the truth? He said, truth. I'm telling my truth. So he got it. The guys who speak, or women who speak and talk about, I've been with the Peruvian Indians for 5 years and this is their story. It's like National Geographic. Can you believe National Geographic? I mean, my God, everything's always pretty and nice. And the climate change is wrecking things. And the animals are it's yick. Yeah. I could not do a National Geographic documentary and they wouldn't hire me.
Right. Well, let's explore this a little bit more, this idea of truth in documentary, truth in fiction in stage scenes. Of course, your first documentary feature, King Murray, which, oh man, I love this film, by the way, David. Absolutely love King Murray. It won the Cannes Film Festival Critics. It won the Cannes Film Festival in what, 1970, right? And
69. It won the film festival in 69. Here's what's important.
Yeah.
The guys older than me were Ricky Leacock Pennybaker, and the Maysles. The Maysles said, cinema verite. We just show the truth, the truth of cinema. And I knew, and every other young filmmaker, because we were all young filmmakers at that time, knew that's baloney. You got a camera, a guy with a huge boom, a wire. Not only a guy with a huge boom and a camera. Who's the cameraman? Is he really good looking? Is he smoking a cigarette when he's shooting? Who's the sound man who's right up close to you? Does he smell?
Yeah.
By the 70s, is he black? By early 70s, is he a woman with big breasts? Is that affecting what's in front of the camera? They denied the whole thing. And they were backed in that denial by Robert Flaherty's wife, the great Robert Flaherty's wife, who ran the Flaherty Film Festival. She believed in truth, only truth. Yeah. So David Hoffman, wise-ass New York filmmaker, is sitting in his office, and a guy comes in to sell me insurance, life insurance, and he says, he's incredible. I have never seen so much energy. Yeah. And I said, hey, you deserve a movie. He said, hey, could I get a card that has my name, producer, so I could meet women? I said, sure you can. I'll make you one. He said, well, this Friday, I'm going to Las Vegas on a junket. A junket? He said, yeah, we take all the people who buy a lot of insurance and we take them to Las Vegas and everything's free. The whole thing's being paid for by Vegas. So
I did not realize that it happened that quickly. Like this, within days you were doing this?
5 days later. It's me, it's my sound man partner, and it's an actress I hired from New York to accompany Murray King from Long Island. And anyway, the film gets made and the press asks me, of course, is this the truth? And I said, I called it staged reality. Yeah. Is it the bottom line truth? Yes. This is Murray King. Yeah. You can't act it. Right. But is every scene perfectly truthful? No. We staged scenes. We picked people. We engaged with people that was set up. We knew certain things would happen. I did that my whole career, including in my Emmy Award-winning Eisenstadt, Germany, which was a classic on public television and ran all over the world, actually. Alfred Eisenstadt is a pain-in-the-ass old Life magazine photographer who's a perfectionist and wonderful. And I know he's going to get pissed off if we set up a scene he doesn't like. So, of course, I set up a scene in a German museum where the second he starts to roll, the cop comes over and puts the hand in front of his camera. It's a setup. I mean, I made it that way, and then I watch what happens. In the case of Murray King, when it was over, the New York Times blasted it in 6 columns. Yeah. The Daily Worker, which was a communist newspaper at that time, said David Hoffman is a dirty Jew. The Daily News, the woman's name was Pauline Kael, the greatest reviewer of that day, said David Hoffman should be thrown out of America.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she couldn't stand it.
and the Wall Street Journal, forgot his name, he gave it the 10 best films of the year with the Maysles Brothers films Salesman. So both films won this high prize by Wall Street Journal. And I send it to Cannes. I've never been outside the United States. And Cannes invites me to come over, and it's the year of Easy Rider. Well, nobody's going to beat Easy Rider. Yeah. And we entered the Critics' Prize, which is the French critics, very French, decide on their own what's the best film at the festival. They don't let the public decide or the attendees decide or the committee. They don't like that at all. So we win.
They loved your truth.
They loved it. They loved my truth. They saw it as an honest statement of America, which they were questioning at the time of the Vietnam War. And I was on my way to Hollywood. I had gotten the producer of Sting offered me a 6-picture deal in Hollywood. David, make 6 more of these crazy movies you make. Anthony Quinn said, David, I'm going to do a new version of Viva Zapata, and I'd like you to be my director. Wow. So, Chris, off I go to Hollywood. I'm a real New York guy. I'm an East Coast guy. I'm a blue-collar guy.
Wow.
I'm out with the people, ordinary citizens, and off I go to Hollywood, and I meet everybody. And I come back after 6 weeks, scared out of my mind. First of all, there were drugs I had never seen. The real use of cocaine in a way that I didn't know. It wasn't in my culture. 2, there was money, huge amounts of money. The more money you had, it impressed everybody. And then there were girls. And it's true that the couch existed. And I didn't know why women were approaching me. It made me real uncomfortable. It's part of the reason I moved to Maine.
To be in your films.
King Murray was a classic film. It's still used in schools. I recently spoke outside of Boston at a college where they invited me to speak because they were looking at what is documentary truth and at cinema verite, the history of cinema verite.
Well, it's interesting because I actually find some crossover and commonality with what you and the Maysles Brothers were doing, quite frankly. I mean, it's easy to argue that you guys were at odds with one another in terms of your style and approach to doc filming, but I find a lot of commonality in some ways. I think it's great.
I think that's interesting what you're saying. I think this, and I've been waiting to be on your show because it's the premier show right now for my colleagues. And you're doing a really good job of raising questions that I think help. And here's my question. The Maysles Brothers had top of the line at that time. They were paid the most money to do television commercials. Everybody knew them. They were in all the festivals. They didn't engage the others around them. And I resented that. I was never number one guy. But I always believed, bring my colleagues. If you look at my colleagues today, dozens of people who worked in my company, have their own companies, are top of the line. I mean, Francis Kenny, he was my assistant cameraman. He's head of the American Cinematographers right now. He's CEO. And Kirk Wolfinger at Lone Wolf up in Maine, he's done 15 Novas, 25 Novas, History Channel. So I believe that we older people need to bring the younger people into their own, because documentary doesn't really have any competition. I've never come into a place where the guy says, we have $500,000 for this documentary, and 3 of you, we're going to give one of you the prize.
Right.
It's either you or it's the other guy based on a whole bunch of principles. So I believe in being generous. The Maysles were not generous. They did not share their power.
Very interesting. Well, you thankfully have been doing it for decades at this point. And it seems, quite frankly, it seems like a great segue into what you've been doing now for the past 5, 6, however many years, which is you are continuing to reach to a young audience, and you're doing it in this spectacular fashion called YouTube. And so, I mean, one of my first questions that I would have for someone like yourself with such prestige, with so many years doing doc films, is why YouTube? How did you come to YouTube, David? When and how did you realize this is where I'm going to start presenting my doc films?
Hey, it's about money. I mean, we all know in this profession that without money, you can't make a movie. And you're either rich, and X percentage of us are, to have the money to make a doc unfunded. The rest of us are scrounging around, spending 75 to 80% of our time looking for the money. Also, the industry. Think about the industry. It's changing at the time when I found myself in this situation. It's leaving the documentary as an independent filmmaker, brings the documentary to either PBS or the new Discovery Channel. Certainly the networks were not possible for independent folks like us. And it's changing to, how many can you make? A dozen? How fast can you make them? 3 months each? Knock them out. Budgets, on the other hand, except for Netflix and HBO and Amazon, aren't rising. They're dropping. So I'm making less and less and less money. I can't support my team. I had 80 people in my company in Camden, Maine. Incredible. We were a wonderful documentary film company, but I couldn't support it. So I left, and I went to Silicon Valley, sent by AT&T, one of my clients for commercials.
Yeah.
And I began to work in startups. And what I found in startups was I was a vice president of communications. And what I found was wonderful freedom, great opportunity, real people, lots of money. Money's everywhere. And I'm just rolling right along. And I forgot about making movies. I'm making startup things. And the startups are wonderful until the bubble of 2000, when guys like me, lots of us, were knocked
I was right there with you, man.
You don't look old enough, but okay.
Oh yeah, I was there in San Francisco.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I lost everything that I had. I had nothing. I had not enough money to pay my mortgage, a new wife, lived at the top of the mountain in Santa Cruz. Life was going to make my own movies again, gone. What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, there's this thing called eBay, just kicking up. Yeah. And there's this thing called YouTube. Yeah. And I'm a consultant to a lot of startups. And some of the startups became big, like Google. I was a consultant to Google in 1998 and 99.
That's amazing.
So Google tells me about YouTube. And as soon as YouTube launched, pretty much, David Hoffman was doing well. Why? Because I made little advertisements in Google AdWords to sell my videos, to go get to my videos that fit what the audience cared about. I used a standard practice that all of my fellow colleagues know to be true, which is it's not what you do, it's what they see. And what they see isn't what you do. What they see is what interests them. So you better damn well know who your audience is, know your audience, and create a thing that interests that audience. Yeah. Okay, so YouTube begins, and I'm doing really well. So Google hires me as a consultant for YouTube to figure out how can I teach AdWords to people for YouTube. So all of a sudden I'm in YouTube and I'm growing and it's doing okay. I make a little bit of money like we all do. But I also noticed, you know what? I'm getting old. And that means the world that could hire me to make a documentary isn't gonna, including Silicon Valley, which has an age prejudice. Right. If you're white hair, you're already getting old. I mean, there's hardly any white hairs in Google. If you go into Google, you got to really look to find a white hair. Yeah. It's rare. In any case, I'm stuck. I still got to make a living. I have a second wife for 20 years and some children and heavy mortgages out here, as you know, Chris, and I stuck. And I say to myself, well, maybe I could do it on YouTube. I mean, PewDiePie, he's making $5-6 million a year. He's not doing documentaries. I wonder if that's possible. So I start to put my documentary clips up, just clips from the documentaries with very good titling and very good description. And 1 in 50 takes off. Within days, it has 100,000 views. What's doing that? The algorithm. You've all heard of the algorithm. I hate the algorithm. We all hate the algorithm. It's constantly changing. It's unbelievably tricky. Yeah. But I start to figure out the algorithm. I notice my audience is 25 to 45. 75% of my audience is 25 to 45. They like history. They want to understand their parents and their grandparents. They want to know something. What do they want to know? They want to know my clip, which is from the earliest ones from the 1950s, the latest ones to 2010, with my explanation of it. So I create a style. David Hoffman introduces his own clips. Right. And I find people like David Hoffman. Not everybody, but people like David Hoffman. They actually like the clip better because I presented it by telling what to look for, what you didn't see, what's behind the scenes. Yeah. And I built my base. Just for your interest, there's not a documentary filmmaker on YouTube anywhere near my number of subscribers or views.
Certainly not that I've seen. Yeah.
There aren't any. I mean, National Geographic has a lot of views, but that's not shit. If you look at Michael Moore, if you look at Ken Burns, wonderful documentary filmmakers, they don't hold a candle to me. Right. I got 102 million views. 102 million views. I never got that out of PBS. Plus, when the show was over, as you people know, or many of you know, show runs. It gets reviews here, St. Louis Press, blah, 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 blah. And the next day it's gone. Yeah. And some other guy's movie's there. Right. I hated that. I spent, at that time, a year, now 4 months, making a documentary 1 hour long or a feature doc, and it's gone. You got the film festivals. We could talk about that. I got a lot of strong feelings about that. And you got YouTube, this incredible global search system. Right. What does it find? It finds not the people who want to see David Hoffman. Nobody knows my name. It finds the people who want to see what to do during COVID. So I have 4 videos now on what to do, how to work at home, a perception I have about America. Right. And who's watching it? 63%, not from the USA. That tells you a lot. This is global. That search system is picking up interested parties that I could never have found.
Never
I am
reached,
totally in support of what YouTube has created for all filmmakers, whether or not you're working in the system or outside it.
So if I'm a doc filmmaker and I want to start a YouTube channel, say I'm listening to this program and I get inspired and I look at David Hoffman's YouTube channel and I think, you know what, I want to do this. I should be doing this. Give us some hard, I'll say give us a few tips that somebody outside of this realm of creating a channel would not necessarily know, that you yourself would know because of your experience in Silicon Valley, because of your experience working with AdWords and as a doc filmmaker. What are some things that we should know that we wouldn't normally easily find out when we set out to make our channel?
Okay, so you've asked me the question, I want to create a channel. Yeah. That's some of the people who are your audience, and others may already have one, and others may not know why they should want to create a channel. But think about it this way. A channel isn't really what you care about. The channel is just the mechanism that holds the videos. Nobody goes to my channel.
Okay.
To speak of. What they really want is what they want. What do they want to see? So you have 3 choices, let's say. Choice number 1. Have you done any work that you have the right to use on YouTube? Let's hope you do. I fortunately, knock on whatever,
you have a ton.
When I was younger, all my films that I made, I said to the people, you have the rights and I have the right to use it for my own publicity.
Yeah.
Including Nova. That gave me a chance to have a whole lot of footage that I could use for my own publicity. Well, the YouTube channel is for my own publicity.
Yeah.
Also think of the viewer as they want either to see the clip or they want to hear you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're under 40, maybe you're good, maybe you're not. If you're between 40 and 60, you probably have stuff to say, stuff you've seen, personal insights. And what is the key to YouTube? Credibility and authenticity.
Yeah.
I'm an authentic being, an authentic, real, not public relations, not advertising, not 4K. Who gives a shit about 4K on my cell phone? Who gives a shit about 2 cameras? You know, Chris, this horrible editing. It's this, and then you look at this, and the guy's looking sideways. Why do that? What is the point? We're looking at it like this on my cell phone. I don't know if I want to watch you or not. So for all those folks who want to start by evaluating you.
Yeah.
What is the reason you want to do this?
Yeah.
Do you want to make money? Do you want to build a brand? Do you want to state your opinion for family, for future? Do you want to tell the world something? Do you have content? That helps, but it's not necessary. And I would say, lastly, are you willing to take what YouTube requires, which is not only trolls, but people who are going to hit you between the eyes? I actually, like most of my colleagues who have the time, I read every comment. 1,500 comments a day I'm getting. Every single one's being read by me. That's about 2 hours a day. Removed if you're a Nazi. Removed if you're truly hateful. I don't want that on my channel. It's my channel, not yours.
Yeah.
People really don't like that. Otherwise, do I want to comment on what you've said? Do I want to like it, which is the heart? And I heart just about everybody who says anything, whether or not I agree with them, if I appreciate it. Since the COVID, since the pandemic, I've been doing something, never thought it would fly. That's one of the great things about YouTube. You quickly see what works and doesn't.
Yeah, right.
I put up a photograph from my collection. I have a lot of photographs I've collected all my life from old family albums that I purchased. And I put up a photograph. It gets 3,000 people in one day and lots of comments about memory. So I stopped putting up a photograph every day, which I've been doing now for 2 months. And I put a commentary of my own life related to something in the photo, although it's not my family. And you should see that go. The comments, the love people are having, people are making it through the pandemic based on my photos that they love, cherish, remember. They remember their grandma.
Yeah.
People want to share. And I want to tell you one other thing.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important. in this fractured society that we live in,
Hmm.
I'm one of the Americans who wants the partisan divide to go away.
Yeah.
I want to feel like a nation again, like we have in the past, and like I think we can again. And I'm pitching that. So my channel and my subscribers know that I feel that way.
Oh.
So if you're a person filled with hate, you're going to come up with hate and I'm going to remove you.
Yeah.
If you're a person who likes, God, this is a channel where not everything is political. My God, I put up, someone eating a string bean and someone else sees it as political. Wants to attack Trump or wants to attack Biden. I got a clip on a guy with Alzheimer's being tested from an old documentary I made in the mid-1990s.
Yeah.
And people come up and they say, that must be Joe Biden. They think that's funny, right? I just remove it. This is not a political piece, and I'm not going to let you do that.
Yeah.
As a result, I have a group of a community, a growing community that really cares. They care about each other. They want the partisan divide to just go away. You don't have to agree with me about everything. You hunt, and I hate hunting. You're still on my side when it comes to the country.
You're onto something there too, and that obviously is something that we can equate very well with Doc Filmmakers, is this idea of building a community for your work, right? And fostering that community. And and at some point, that community comes back for your content. They come back for your films. And that is obviously something you have done in spades with your YouTube channel.
Very true, but what you're saying is really important. That's right. What I found was the network, cable, the few foundations that give money, all together equal this amount of work for the rest of us, for all the people, enormous amount of people that hear you and now see you. But what I'm interested in is a community. What about 50,000 people that really want to see my work and are willing to pay for it on Patreon, which a lot do? I have a strong Patreon community and a growing YouTube community, and YouTube algorithm is liking me, so I get pretty good money on my ads. Put it all together, I'm making a living, guys.
You're making
without ever being in a network, on a cable, searching the money. Every day I look at how much money I've made, and it pays for my California life, just about. I also get work from startups who want to do the same thing I've done on YouTube, and on occasion filmmakers. There are filmmakers with enough money say, hey, David, I'm going to hire you to help me to get myself right on YouTube.
David, I'm curious because I know that my listeners are thinking this right now, and I have to ask you, it's up to you how you answer this, but dying to know we're talking about making money here via your YouTube channel. Can you give us some kind of ballpark? Now, obviously, you're an exception to the rule in many ways. You're going to be the exception to the rule to most people doing this, but I'm dying to know. Can you give us some kind of ballpark? Like what are we talking here? When you check in on YouTube, what do you get in a day or a week or a month?
I'll share that. So let's look at where I am today. On a good average day in April of 2020, I make between $350 a night and $600 a night from YouTube. That's coming every night. I see it. And that's based on views and a whole lot of other stuff. Like CPM, how much YouTube is willing to pay per view, how much it's willing to charge a sponsor. I have videos that are $3 CPM, and I have videos that are $30 CPM. I'd much rather have those be used. But the CPM changes all the time, and the advertising changes all the time. So you're not in total control of this, but it's a nightly gamble. You push the button, and at night I look. I then have startups that hire me, and I get, on average, between $5,000 a month and $10,000 a month from my the people I work for. Or I help their channel, or I do an interview for them, as you can do too. And then I have T-shirts via Teespring, which is a YouTube spinoff.
You have merchandise. That's right.
I merch. Merch is hilarious. I've made my own merch. You can make your own merch. And I make about $200 a month.
Wow.
And then because of my video clips, which still sell on Amazon as DVDs and streaming, I make about $300 or $400 a month.
Wow.
Put all that together, and this independent filmmaker, me, like so many of you are or would like to be, is struggling to do good, and I'm doing it. I'm pulling it off.
I very much appreciate the candor with which you speak and sharing that information. It's important information. A lot of people guard that sort of thing, and you didn't. And doesn't surprise me, by the way. That's the beauty of the David Hoffman, I think. And
I want 100 of me. I want you to be
right.
This is not a competition we're in. Really, I guarantee you. If I see something you made that I like, and I recommend it on my channel, I'm real happy if people spend more time on YouTube looking at your thing too. When it gets to be so bad that no one has the time to look at YouTube, well, maybe we'll be competitive, but it's nothing like that right now.
Right. So obviously, outside of somebody, paying for your consultation services, where is a place that someone like myself, or obviously any of my listeners or anybody seeing this on your YouTube channel, where is a place that we can go to at least get some kind of cursory knowledge of how the YouTube algorithms are working in any way? How can we start to arm ourselves with that knowledge?
Yeah, certainly nobody's teaching it.
Yeah.
If you watch what's out there, nobody is teaching it. The guys teaching it are effectively marketing guys.
Yes.
And that's a very different look than our look. Yeah. Our look is what drives somebody to want to see your video. What interests them at the second that they're searching? What are they searching? How many people are searching documentary filmmaker? Some. How many people are searching depression? Lots. What if my movie helps depression? I have one that does. People feel less depressed when they watch it. It's a movie about an astronaut's experience in space that I made in 1979 that ran for 25 years at the Air and Space Museum.
Wow.
And then was gone. An old 16 millimeter doc, 10 minutes long, called a one-reeler, we used to call it. And so now I have an audience. The audience are people who feel bad and want to feel better. That's how you have to think about this. You build, what does the audience want? At the moment they're searching, then secondarily, this is so interesting, what do they see on the right-hand side of the screen suggested by the algorithm that works out to be what you really want to see? Well, X number, let's just say 5% of my views, people say, the algorithm brought me here, I don't know why. Okay, it got wrong. 95% say, the algorithm brought me here, and I love it. My B.B. King concert film, 6 minutes long, which is my most popular video. I think it's got 14 million views, is being carried forward by another video about B.B. King, which doesn't have as many views. But everybody who searches that other video, I forgot what it's called. It's one of his songs.
I see.
Wants to see my video, which is called B.B. King Said This Was His Best Performance. Wow. That's my title. Wow. Fortunately, he did. And when you click on it, I got like 99% of the people watch the whole thing. That also tells you something. Yes. Where do people cut off? That's a wonderful aspect of the YouTube algorithm. Yeah. It's showing viewers, it's showing makers like us, creators. Where did people sign off? Now,
where did they leave?
Let's say I've made something on cancer, breast cancer. 95% of the views drop off in the first minute. I didn't want them. I wanted the 5%. 5% watch the whole 1 hour film down to the last second. Wow. I found my audience. Wow. That 5%. It's, unless you want a viral video, and very few of us get viral, and I can't figure viral out. The videos of mine that have gone viral are never the ones I would have predicted. And ones I think are just brilliant. My God, everybody will like this. Don't go viral, and that's up to the algorithm.
Kind of to broaden in on that, like the 95% that checked out in the first, minute or what have you, and the 5% that watched it the entire way through, as you're saying, is incredibly, incredibly valuable to us. But then what is that next step, David? What are you doing for that 5%? How are you reaching out to them, keeping them engaged with you and your work?
Using the full resources of YouTube, creating more clips aimed directly at them, watching the algorithm and analytics to decide which of the keywords and which other movies that I have never seen are drawing people to me. So I'm trying to always update my words, not so much my titling. YouTube does not like it when you change the title. Right. So spend time on the title. Spend time on the title. Description, you should read my descriptions. They're 4 paragraphs and 5 paragraphs long. Wow. Why? The algorithm is picking up words, and the people who are reading it and commenting, I know are my audience. So I am on this learning curve better than, what's the name, Chris, of the entity that tracks television audiences. I forgot.
The Nielsen ratings.
Nielsen's.
Yeah.
They know less than I know because my audience is writing me. And I'm combining keywords and titling and what are the things they've seen and how long have they watched. And over time, I could tell you if I had a sponsor, I could say that sponsor, I got 150,000 ex-Navy guys and some women, but mostly guys. I know that. I know that audience. I know they're going to watch my movie, Navy. So if you want to reach the Navy guys, retired, I'm a guy who can reach them for you. Certainly in banjo picking, I know a lot about banjo picking from my clips, and I've got 1,770 clips, so I'm tracking a lot of things to learn. It's so much fun, though. I want to tell you, if you got the time or willing to put the time in, you're gonna love it. It's fun.
Wow. So incredibly powerful these days. In particular for our audience, independent doc filmmakers, right? To empower yourself with, look, it's one thing to be the artist, right? And it used to be this way. I was this way 30 years ago. Okay, maybe 25 years ago, where I felt like, okay, I just want to be a filmmaker. I'm the artist. This is what I do. Somebody else will produce my work for me. Somebody else will sell and market my work for me. I just need to concentrate on the art. And I quickly realized how absurd that thinking is. And in some ways now more than ever. But the beauty of that is, as you're suggesting throughout really most of this conversation, which is we have a lot more power than we realize. And we have to embrace the power that we have to market, to build our audiences and connect with them. Certainly if we want to sustain ourselves as doc filmmakers.
To me, it's a rule that I followed since I was a young filmmaker, and I pushed all of the other young filmmakers that work for me. I said, make everything far out. Go as far out as you can. Don't be conservative. Stretch the limit of everything you're doing. More narration, more script, more powerful music, less editing, less 4K, less concern with the technology, more concern with what is being emotionally effective to the audience.
Yeah.
And go that way. And then some will hate you, some won't hire you, but some will love you.
And the people that love you will really love you.
Love you. And you're right. We all have to be business people. It's unfortunate. Let's be honest for a minute. Making documentaries is wonderful.
Yeah.
What a profession. What a wonderful way to make any kind of living.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. You're shooting stuff, you're editing stuff, you're writing script, there's
meeting
music
people,
involved, creativity all around. And what does the fiction film have? A wonderful script and some very egomaniacal but spectacular looking actors and a director who has a vision. But when you go in the editing room, you're cutting takes. Take tight shot, take wide shot. What we do is we create an idea, set up how we're going to do it, begin to do it. And the second we begin, it's changing. It's not going exactly the way we want. We're adjusting constantly, thrilling. Now we get in the editing room. We know we have 4 great scenes and some other stuff we got to make it to great scenes. But we don't have a movie. What fun in the editing room. I'm fascinated by how stuff comes together. I see what I did wrong. When I'm in the editing room, I don't know if others do this, but when I'm in the editing room, now I attack the director, but the director's me. Look at that idiot. He missed that scene. Why did he not ask that question? Well, I'm talking to myself. But the editor mindset and the writer mindset, so hard to be a writer of script. You know, and I'm sure a good part of it runs us. You know what? I believe all of us need to do this, and I do this, and you should do it too, your audience, which is know what you're good at. What I'm not good at, I better find somebody who's really good at that. I mean, I made a doc one time with Steven Spielberg when he was creating Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And he told me, David, there are about, I think he said 900 scenes. And I have every one of those scenes in my head. I don't know why, he said. But if somebody asks me, should the tank be in the left of frame or the right of frame, and which position should it be in? I know exactly. I go into my player, I play the scene, and I tell them, I don't have that skill. I know I don't have that skill. That is not me. My skill is, what is the person not saying that they've been waiting all their life to say?
You're very good at that. You're very good at that.
I am.
Yes.
I am. It's a sixth sense, and I know that I'm good at it. And so anybody who hired me would be wise to hire David to interview that person, because he's going to get some peculiar stuff you never would have expected.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. David, I could very easily talk with you for hours and hours and hours, and maybe in the future at some point, because we're up in Portland, Oregon now, if I come down to Santa Cruz at some point, I've got some friends down there, it would be great to meet you in person, and then maybe we can continue the conversation.
Well, I would say to you, Chris, that I'm ready, and I hope you're ready. When the questions come in from your fans, the people who listen to you, pass them my way, and let's try a couple of YouTube clips, just YouTube clips, you and I answering whatever you or your people want to know more about.
I love it. David Hoffman, thank you so much for being on The Documentary Life. Just a wonderful conversation. I appreciate it.
Me too.